there, folks. My name is Emily.
And I'm Elle.
And we are Oh My Word, a podcast where we discuss movies, musicals, books, TV shows, etc., and discuss their content, especially in the hopes of sharing with you clean and age-appropriate media.
Yes, and for an easy, well, is this clean or not, we have our very highly technical pearl scales, which there's not enough emphasis on how scientific and technical these pearl scales are.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's like, who makes rocket ships these days? They probably couldn't figure out our highly technical pearl scale. It's violence, language, and romance, scales of 0 to 4, 0 being no pearls clutched, 4 being all the pearls clutched. And anything that's more than that is pearl scale exploded into smithereens and left burn marks all over the room.
Right. Think Game of Thrones.
Yes. For a small example. Yes. Exactly. Among others.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Today we're actually doing something a little bit different. We've done it before, coming back to it. So today we are talking about trends in young adult books, I guess you could say, and movies. So we've done this before, where instead of talking about a particular book or movie, we're talking about a trend that we see in the young adult space. And the trend that we're seeing right now, which is really not a new trend. Actually, it's something that we've talked about on and off as we've discussed different movies and books. But now we're looking at it as a whole, and that is this adaptation trend.
Especially with all the increase in streaming platforms, a lot of them are starting to put more emphasis on developing teen content. And a lot of that is coming from books.
Which makes sense because it's sort of like the evolution of the young adult genre in novels itself, where before you had adult books and you had kids' books, but there wasn't really a lot of in-between space, right? But eventually young adult really became its own thing. And it seems that that's similar in TV, especially, and maybe movies too, where initially with TV, everyone just sort of watched the same thing, but it seemed like there was more adult stuff and kids stuff.
And the CW.
Right. Fair enough. But the CW was probably the first, right? And now there's more and more of a trend of stuff specifically for teens, because were we talking about it recently, or was this somewhere else where, it used to be that people all gathered around the TV and watched something together, but now everyone's on their own screen, which means every age group needs their own thing to watch.
Right.
Which is good from a creative standpoint. Because you might have a different story to tell. You might not necessarily have something for 40-year-olds or for 5-year-olds. You might have something for 15-year-olds. So it does allow for different stories to be told.
It also helps the genre when Hollywood sees it as being a money-making genre, which is part of what Twilight did for young adult. I think we've spoken about it before, or I've spoken about it with people that I've interviewed. Whether you're on the Twilight side or not, or wherever you're going to make fun of Twilight, one thing it did do is it really opened up the young adult category by proving it can be a moneymaker. And at the end of the day, as much as we want to do for the art and the creative, the business side is really important because that's where the money comes to fund stuff. And
right.
There has been a big increase in the adaptations of young adult stuff. This is not the first year. There's a lot of stuff that's still in the works. There's a lot of stuff that has been developed already. We're just going to focus on some that seem to be coming out this year. So ones that have trailers that are out already, or that the networks have like a landing page for it to say, oh, keep your eyes posted, it's coming soon. Because there's much more that are in the works. You probably got double, triple this amount that are in the works, but those are not the ones that we're necessarily focusing on today.
Right. So the first one actually is interesting because we've actually read this book and spoken about it, and that is Vampire Academy. And if I remember correctly, Vampire Academy did not do very well on our pearl clutching ratings, and also I don't think did very well on our personal taste ratings, which is not an official rating system, but does exist because it's hard to talk about a book strictly from a pearl clutching perspective. But this is indeed being made into a TV series by the same woman who I guess was really successful with the Vampire Diaries series, which is interesting.
Oh, the person,
not the same author, but the showrunner.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the author. I'm like, that's not the same author.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Not the same author, but either the showrunner or the producer, director. But someone at the helm of this project, she also was at the helm of. And apparently Vampire Diaries had 3 versions. There's Vampire Diaries Legacy and...
Yeah, there were spin-offs of it, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, vampires are her thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Someone who's had a successful run, you'd bring him... So Vampire Academy, the whole series is by Rochelle Mead, so just, shout out to the author there. They did a film adaptation of it, and it was also, I don't remember if you saw it. I saw it, and it was just, oh, what is this that I am seeing?
I remember you talking about it.
Yeah, it was not a good adaptation. Now, full disclosure, vampires in general are not our things. If we're going to read a vampire thing and like it, it's got to be really, really good. You're kind of starting off on a negative. Not a negative, but starting with the vampires, it's already like, all right, let's see what you got here sort of thing.
Well, that's more for you.
Yeah.
I don't have a particular feeling one way or the other about vampires.
Okay.
To be fair.
Also, I wonder where the initiative came from to give the series another spin. I don't know if the person, whoever's kind of made the Vampire Diaries a success, if she's the one, or he's got the one that has to do with it, or just because the author has been successful. She has a fan base. It's people like her work and they like the books, and there's a lot of the books that she's got other stuff out there. So I don't know. It's interesting. I kind of wonder who initiated that. I would anticipate. I'm not going to gamble on it, but I would anticipate that our pearls the pearl clutching skill might be challenged a little bit with the adaptation, just because of already knowing what the nature of the books are.
Yeah, so I guess we'll keep an eye out for that. We might have to watch an episode or two when it comes out just to complete the cycle. I know.
And I'll let you watch it and just maybe not.
Oh, thanks.
Just give me like a smoke signal. Just let me know.
Okay. The next adaptation is Sky is Everywhere, book by Jandy Nelson. This one is Apple TV.
The Sky is Everywhere, what's interesting about this one, and I don't think I think Jandy Nelson, I think she's got another book that was adapted. What we can see from the storyline of The Sky is Everywhere is that you've got this girl and her sister who are the best friends kind of thing, and then the sister dies. And the girl kind of feels like, she's lost, all color and music has gone out of her life. And then the new boy in school who's so full of color in life, whatever, is he going to wake her up again? Or she starts getting closer to her sister's boyfriend. So I guess it's kind of a little bit of a love triangle there.
Yes.
What's interesting about this one is that it sort of follows a pattern that we used to see more frequently in YA, in someone dying sort of pattern. Because for a while, you had a lot of vampires were popular for a while. You had dystopians were popular for a while. And then books that became popular after that were people dying. Books that there was someone, you had The Fault in Our Stars and Before I Fall. You had a lot of books.
Right.
Should I Stay? Where someone was dying in it and then dealing with that. Mm-hmm. It was just trends that were coming up. The trend never fully went away, and it's never fully really going to go away, because death could introduce a lot of depth to a story, and there's a lot, especially as teenagers, can actually understand what a permanent loss is. But it seemed like as I was watching the trailer for this, that The Sky's Ever, I was like, I felt like I was watching the old style a little bit.
Yeah, I felt that too, actually.
Yeah, they kind of do a little bit like animation in it also. It's one of those ones where like they'll add... Right, and if I saw it correctly, I think there's one where she walks in and it looked like there was like a Pride Day something going on. It looked like a lot of people wearing rainbows. Is that this one? That there was that one scene, it was like a flash of a scene. So...
Hard to tell because there's so much color and like just animation anyway. So I don't know if I remember that in particular.
Oh. I saw there was like a boy, I think, wearing like a Pride rainbow bow tie, I think. It seemed to be specific like that, and I thought I'd seen a few more. So it just seems like they were taking kind of like a little bit of the older style and then like a modern version of it. Which, I just want to add, I think Netflix is coming out with a new adaptation of Persuasion. So the Jane Austen Persuasion.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And then I saw the article about it. It was like, we're going to have a modern take on Persuasion. And whenever they're doing that, it's just like, what? I'm probably not going to be interested. Like, I don't care, I guess there's only so many times. Like, Pride and Prejudice already has so many adaptations, and there's good adaptations of it. You have the BBC has a great one, and the one with Keira Knightley is also a very good one, the film version. Mm-hmm. So, but I guess if someone feels so strongly about Pride and Prejudice, I want to adapt it. How do we make it new? We have to do a modern spin to it. But we saw what happened with Anne of Green Gables when you did that. So, we personally didn't love that. But anyway, so The Sky's Ever kind of felt like that. One of these quieter films, like there's not big wars or something going on, right? It's just about the dealing with the grief and finding life again.
The relationships.
Yeah, the relationships. Yeah. I'm always kind of a little bit iffy where it's like the sister was hooking up with this other sister's boyfriend kind of thing.
Yeah, that's got a weird vibe to it.
It's always a little bit, I don't know. But I guess if the older sister is removed from the picture, it's different than the older sister broke up with the boyfriend that she's going for. Whatever. Okay, but yeah, who knows?
Along the same lines, I'm going to jump around a little bit here on our list just because one of the other adaptations is Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. She is the one who did To All the Boys I Loved Before and P.S. I Still Love You. I think that's why you get confused. P.S. I Still Love You. So this one is a love triangle between one girl and two brothers. A story about first love, first heartbreak, and the magic of that one perfect summer. So like you're talking about with siblings, and that's, a love triangle, that happens. Fine, in real life, but between two brothers, like...
I know.
We haven't seen
Especially if she kisses both of them.
Right, no, that's exactly what I was going to say. Like, it's one thing if it's just they're hanging out all summer and both are flirting with her, which already is kind of weird, but if it gets physical at all, then it's... Ugh. So, but I guess we don't know yet.
Yeah, it sort of reminded me of... I know Woody Allen, like some people, whatever, but I realize also there's a lot of Woody Allen films that are like really, sure, he was a great filmmaker maybe in technique and stuff, but you have, what is it? Is it Hannah and Her Sisters? Where he's married to one sister, has an affair with the other sister, gets divorced with that sister, and then ends up married to the third sister. And I realized, as like, so a lot of film people, especially if you're like in these film clubs, these RTD, like, oh, so you watch these films. And then I realized afterwards, I was like, I basically just watched the story of a guy sleeping with all the sisters. Gross. No. By the way, side note, Jenny Han just signed some sort of deal or something, I think, with Amazon Prime to develop a lot of content with them. So who knows where that's going to go. But there's this whole thing with young adult in general where it's like, oh, as a teenager, you have your first love. So we got to... It's very interesting because there's so much emphasis on the first love because also being a teenager is when starting to be able to develop kind of feelings like this and be in relationships in that kind of way. So they put so much emphasis on this first love. And then if you would actually zoom out and look for, oh, and we're so much in love and forever and always, and then you're like, no, you probably will not end up together. How many people marry their high school sweethearts? So that's why I don't love that there's so much emphasis on this. Sometimes in fantasy world, you can kind of pretend because they're all going to end up together because they're not going to college, so.
Right.
But in the modern world, and then it's going to be this whole thing between love triangle with the two brothers. Yeah.
I think, there's the whole concept of dibs or I saw her first, which people have a problem with. But frankly, that seems much better than a love triangle between two brothers. Because there's sort of like respect. Like, all right, you really like this girl and I don't want to hurt your feelings, if you're going to... Or you like this boy, dibs works for girls, it works for boys. So, yeah, it's kind of... I guess we haven't seen it, so we don't know if it's more of a... Because Jenny Han, like, To All the Boys I Loved Before, especially the first one, was more cute. That, like, the second one is all about her having sex with, or is that another?
That's the third one. That's the third one.
That's the third one.
Yeah.
So that is not cute anymore. But the first one was still kind of cute. So it's possible that she might be able to deal with it in a cute way where it's not gross.
Yeah.
I feel like she could if she wanted to.
Don't the brothers, or do they not live together? So what? If she's choosing one of them, do they not? And it's funny, I spoke to an author recently, Natalie May, who she ended up with a love triangle in her book. And it's between two half-brothers. If she wanted a love triangle in there, it sort of kind of had to be that way. But at the same time, it's like... She's like, yeah, I kind of realized afterwards what I had done. And it was like, oh, well. So, but
interesting.
This is like the set... Yeah, I don't know. The two brothers thing is a little bit... whatever.
Yeah. So we'll have to check back with that one and see how it actually ends up turning out. The next one we have is Heartstopper by Alice Oseman.
Yeah. I think that was a graphic novel.
Yes, I think it was. And this is a Netflix adaptation. And it's about...
Boy meets boy.
Boy meets boy. Yeah, British boy meets boy.
Yeah. The one thing, when I was watching the trailer for it, is it was like, wow, I'm watching a chick flick right now. But with two boys instead of a girl. Literally to the point where the one boy is crushing on the jock. So it's like, what do we call the rom-com with two boys in it? Is this called like the boy chick?
Right. The boy chick.
We're gonna start that. Come on, people. We gotta get this word out there. We're gonna make this a thing. We're called the boy chick.
I like that.
Especially because of the jock. And it's all like, oh, he's on the rugby. I think rugby, right? He's on the rugby team and he's totally the one who's crushing on him and he can't be his true self and da-da-da. And it's also the trailer was a little bit... I think they just had them saying hi to each other like 47 times.
Yeah.
So it actually became kind of... Trailer felt a little bit ridiculous. Like, hi, 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 hi. You're like, is there no dialogue in this film? It's basically a gay chick flick, I guess, for teenagers, which we were kind of seeing... We were seeing the gay characters a lot of the gay best friends. It seemed like we were seeing a lot more of the lesbian couples. The girls kissing each other in film until now. I mean, it's not the first one that's going to have two boys kissing in it, but it seems like there's a shift now for a greater emphasis on boy and boy romance, like the male-male romance.
Yeah. So
it seems like that's, I guess some people are like, oh, we're so sad, whatever. And, then again, I don't do romance in general, but I don't.
That's true.
Yeah, but I don't know that I need to see this either. It's like, it's I also, like, for film these days, it's got to really be something, I think, for me to watch it. I'm kind of over those films. It's,
Yeah. Again, with all of these, we'll have to see, but it is interesting that that's what they're choosing to adapt, but also not interesting. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all that it's being adapted.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm curious about is, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of rave reviews about it, and I wonder if it's one of those films, and especially one of those graphic novels, I wonder if it has a wide audience that made it popular, or if it has a very dedicated fan base that made it so popular. I'd have a feeling it might be the latter, but Who knows? And also, if you're going to see like a billion positive articles and you're going to see it coming up a lot, then that shows you that whoever it is really trying to push it also. You know, when they try to create a whole a buzz around something. So all these films have sort of a buzz around it, but The Sky's Everywhere I was sort of seeing it, but not as much. Heartstopper I'm seeing everywhere now. Summer I Turned Pretty I'm seeing a lot more on those. So it's just interesting. It also depends what site it is. They'll choose what they want to give more attention to. So
right.
Yeah.
I am intrigued by the fact that it was, because I think you're right, I think Heartstopper was a graphic novel originally. Like in the trailer it said, adapted from the graphic novel. So that would be interesting, because I usually think of graphic novel for a comic book. Not a love story, not a rom-com type thing, so I wonder...
Yeah.
Which would also point to the dedicated fan base versus a wide fan base, just because it seems like graphic novels are more of a particular taste. Yeah.
Yeah, but graphic novels in general, they've been trying to expand that genre a lot, and because a lot of people say it's a gateway to reading, or it's just a different kind of reading because you have art and text together. So graphic novels they haven't been for a while, but they definitely are not just for superheroes anymore.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it just, who knows?
I guess we'll see. Speaking of superheroes, we do have a superhero adaptation, which I actually thought already existed, but I think I'm not... Like, I do end up watching a fair amount of the Marvel movies, but definitely not all the TV shows that they've come up with, and not all of the recent movies, so I can't keep up. They're adapting Miss Marvel. See, I think I'm confused because I think there's...
Captain Marvel.
Oh, there's Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
So now this is Miss Marvel, which is like the teen version of Captain Marvel.
Did they run out of exciting adjectives that they're doubling on the...
I don't know enough about the Marvel Universe. Like, this is a real character, and now they're just... I don't know enough about it to really comment on where it's coming from.
So the graphic novel is written by G. Willow Wilson. I didn't mark the artist, which we should have. But so this is Disney, of course, because they own Marvel. I want to say it's obvious why they're adapting this one, because the main character in this one she's Muslim, and I think she's born in America. She seems to be American, but her parent, or her mom at least, has an accent. And I wasn't exactly sure what country that was. If it was one of the stands, or if it's like India or something, or Nepal.
They only showed her for about 2 seconds. So.
Yeah, so this is a BIPOC superhero is kind of what they're doing with this one. It does seem to have like the fun vibe to it, like what was in Shazam of, I can't believe I'm a superhero, versus like the dark, broody superhero.
Right.
And I'm not sure, did I see correctly that she sort of has like a skirt over her in her superhero costume?
That's a good question. It was a definitely modest costume, and that it wasn't like a Wonder Woman where it's just a bra and underwear type thing.
Yeah, we don't know what Wonder Woman is wearing. She's wearing like a strapless bathing suit, which why is that comfortable? It's not. Oh, and boots.
No.
Don't forget the boots.
Not a comfortable way to fight crime.
Right. But that would also be like, as someone who is this Muslim character, she would have a more modest superhero costume.
Right.
But also, having a more modern superhero costume shows you that they don't have to walk around in bathing suits and boots. And come on, people, So she could be a superhero in something that actually is clothing. Put clothing on these women. I mean, come on. But we know kind of why they're not, because men were drawing this, and it was, they're drawing it. So they're like, oh, women will definitely run around in what we want to see them running around with.
Yes.
We don't have to be bound by that anymore. We can redesign costumes.
No.
Yeah, Batman, his underwear on the outside of his costume is not so obvious anymore, and same with Superman. They kind of... Right? They've adapted those costumes. So let's do something about Wonder Woman running around in just a bathing suit and boots. I'm like, come on, people.
Good point.
Yeah. Just the last one we'll point to is that we have Along for the Ride. I think it's Netflix. I believe it's out already. That's an adaptation of a book of the same name by Sarah Dessen. It seems like it's like a quiet, small town chick flick, kind of. Like a rom-com.
Yes, but also one of those, like, let's have a list of things we're going to do type teen books, which really has become its own genre. And I know that's a very long name for a genre, but we've read a number of books where the characters go on some sort of...
The bucket list.
Whether it's a bucket list because someone's actually dying, or it's a final year before college type of thing, or there's some reason that they're going on this epic adventure to do... some of them are big things, and sometimes it's like, I'm going to learn to ride a bike, or I'm going to eat ice cream at the beach at nighttime. Things for the first time. But that's what it felt like to me, was one of those... books, but without the terminal cancer diagnosis or anything like that. Just we're going to college and I want to live life.
It seemed also that it's like I don't have the right word, it's kind of like there's like a quietness to the story, that if you're just into the rom-com, you could just have like a sweet rom-com without any of the modern world coming into it. So the modern world is there in the technology or in this, that, whatever, but it's just all the politics and all the other stuff, societal stuff is not there, because it's just about the beach and First of all, the main actress in it was like, who does she remind me of? Who does she remind me of? But I think she reminded me of Jennifer Garner. Do you see the similarities between them?
I didn't think about that.
Oh,
no.
There's like the dimple look or whatever. But the bigger thing is Sarah Dessen she's kind of found her niche, kind of. She's sort of like Nicholas Sparks, but without someone always dying in the book. Like the quiet rom-coms. Not cozy romance, because that's a separate thing, but sort of like that style of just very much focus without too much other stuff. There's not going to be a lot of characters in the book. It's going to be a very focused story on the girl and the guy. Each one's going through whatever they're going through, and then they're finding each other, sort of thing. Kind of way that Nicholas Sparks kind of churns out these books, and they're very adaptable because they're not expensive to make, because you just have to find a beach town somewhere and put 2 people there. You know, and they're like, oh, someone dies, you know? So, Sarah Dessen, I'm actually not sure if this is her first adaptation or not of her work, but it seems like a lot of her books are very similar in that regard. Of just smaller town kind of romances, just focus on these two sort of thing. They're going to be going through something, and then they're going to find each other, and then etc. It has kind of its own appeal and its own kind of market in that regard.
Yeah. Well, that is actually the interesting thing about all of these. What do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that we just talked about. They're all a little bit different. Some are more similar, right? Sky is Everywhere, Heartstopper, Along for the Ride, Summer I Turned Pretty. They're all, they have a little bit of the romance thing as opposed to Vampire Academy and Miss Marvel. But you got a little bit of something for everyone here. It feels like mostly they're adapting things for girls.
Except for Heartstopper.
Even Heartstopper, because it's a romance, I would still imagine that, other than gay guys and girls, but I can't imagine a lot of straight guys watching Heartstopper. Whereas Miss Marvel, because it's superheroes, you'll probably get guys watching that, but I don't think you'll get guys watching too many of the others.
Yeah, I'm curious. I don't see... Yeah. Even Ms. Marvel, I wonder if guys would watch that. Teen guys, I don't want to say they won't, but it seems like a lot of them are probably going more toward an action film. But
well, I guess it depends how superhero-y it is versus romance or other things.
It didn't seem there was any romance with Ms. Marvel. I'm not sure, but they didn't advertise it. They were just showing friendship and stuff. So
right.
Interesting. Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll have to come back to some of these if we get a chance to watch them and see what the adaptations are actually like. But that's just one of the trends we noticed is adaptations, which is, truthfully, it's not really a new trend. Things have always been adapted. Some of the greatest movies, Wizard of Oz, Gone with the Wind, everything was an adaptation. It's not necessarily new, but specifically the YA adaptations. That's a big focus.
Yeah, it's gaining steam.
So
that's what's out there. No, your kids might have this on their screen right now.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
So thanks so much for coming along on this ride with us through YA adaptations, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Cheers, peoples! Oh My Word podcast is brought to you by the pearl-clutching basement dwellers at Oh My Word, with theme music by Tim Cook. To keep track of all the great stuff we're up to, please follow us on Instagram at Oh My Word Podcast. Please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and leave a starry 5-star review. For full episode notes and details, please visit eltenenbaum.com. Thanks so much for joining us. Catch you next time.